People change like the tides in the ocean. At least I think, or am I dead wrong? But on the break at the line, I'll notice. I sit and wait until the next song. 20 hours in an old van up the East Coast through the cold wind. Drove 20 hours by the ocean up the East Coast. What a road trip. Bum, 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 bum. Now that interstate is paved with memories of a past life lived when I was 18. I think back to what we used to be. In that past life we lived at 18. Oh, 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 oh. Okay, I can't do that seriously. Hold on. I have road trip blaring in my ears. Hold up. There we go. It's a little lower. Hi, chat. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Thank you, Rosie, for putting the fanfic. I hope you guys are excited, because I'm so excited. I was telling Julie, I was actually a little bit sad too, but mostly excited, because today we are reading the final chapters of TommyInnits Clinic for Supervillains. Now, I know. What? It's ending? It's done? Yes. This is the final 2 chapters of TommyInnits Clinic for Supervillains. Hello. I hope you guys are excited. I'm excited. Julie and I are gonna put our whole okay, I'm not gonna say that. We're gonna go hard on it. We'll just say that. We're gonna go hard on that. So I'm really excited. These chapters better be fluffy. Oh man, yeah. Prepare the tissues. Yeah. Oh wait. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Okay, I just want to make sure that I have. Yes. Okay, cool. Yeah. Do you remember when I passed out on my keyboard? I do. I hope you're feeling okay now. Hold on, chat. I have something to do. Real quick. A little quick 2-second thing that I need to do. Real quick. Why isn't it? And I carry it with me. There we go. Okay. Hold on. But yes. I hope you guys are excited. I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. These are my favorite chapters. I'm so glad. But, so first of all, let's go to the call with Julie. Let's go into the call with Julie first, and then we'll explain everything, because this is a special day. It's a special day. So, meow. Hello, Julie.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm nervous about doing this on my laptop. Guys, I'm a laptop streamer again.
Guys, Julie's a laptop streamer. It's okay.
Do I sound okay?
You sound good. You sound awesome. Here, let me just turn you up just a smidge.
Okay, cool. I just don't want my
No, you're good. You're chilling. Yo, Pokepup, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Let's see.
Someone stole my friend's art!
Fight him. Now.
I literally will.
But, so, we're gonna go ahead and here. Let's go to just chatting for a hot second real quick. But,
okay.
Today is a special day. It's not only the final chapters of, oh gosh, I need to change the VC command. Hold on. Oopsies. I just don't fix it. I just don't fix it. Oopsies. Hold on. I thought I checked everything, guys. I was in VC with Julie before. That's why it took a little bit longer.
I want everything to be perfect.
I want everything to be perfect, and you guys will understand why. Hold on. Let's see. Let's see custom commands. Let's see. Okay. There we go. Okay, now it's perfect. Okay. But today, chat, is gonna be different because today, so as you guys know, a lot of stuff has kind of happened in the past couple of days with the passing of Techno. So we decided that because the Blade is a huge part of TommyInnits Clinic for Supervillains, we are going to be giving all funds made during this stream, so anything from subs to bits to donations, will be going to the Technoblade tribute for the Sarcoma Foundation.
Yes.
Yeah. So, if you guys have anything to spare, you can do !Techno for the donation link, and or exclamation donate to my tips. So anything you give will be given to the Sarcoma Foundation, and depending on how much we raise, I will try and match it. It won't be that much. I'm gonna contribute as much as I can on my side. But if you guys want to donate anything, or you can only do bits, or you can only do subs, or you can do donates, that will all be going to the Sarcoma Foundation for Technoblade. So, yes. So if you can, go ahead and do that. If not, I'm gonna keep it open for a while. So we will do a couple. I'll do a couple streams in the next couple of days to see if we can raise any money. But
yeah,
we're gonna move over to. So if you see at the top, there we go, Sarcoma Foundation. I have it at $100. Not something that we have to hit, but just a goal. Let's see. Emily Dukes, thank you for the follow. Let's see. As always, all bits, subs, raids, they will be follows. They will be thanked at the end of the chapter. We have 2 chapters today. So make sure you let everybody know what's kind of going on. And yeah. Let's see. Julie, do you want to do the... It's been about 4 weeks since we've had TommyInnits Clinic for Supervillains. Would you like to do a little bit of a lore recap?
I would be honored.
Go ahead.
So, if my memory... Yeah, it has been a while. It's been like, what, 2 weeks?
It's been so long.
So, okay. So we all know Dream has put Tommy on the spot here. He's kind of, like, hey, give me the freaking identities of the Syndicate or else you will get arrested. Like, I got all the evidence I need. And then, Tommy's, like, in the Syndicate now. And so, like, he gets a code name. So he has this special moment with Technoblade. Oh. Technoblade gives Tommy his super villain name, which is Apollo. And then they hug. Let's see, I think Wilbur and Techno made up. No, Tommy.
Sorry,
they made up. Crime Boys made up because, like, they were, like, talking a bit, I guess. And then, what else happened? They talked. There was some bench trio stuff. They're like, we're not mad you joined the Syndicate. Like, will you guys be okay? And they're like, yeah, we're practically in the Syndicate already. So he goes, like, okay, in his TommyInnit voice.
Okay.
Okay. And then they have dinner. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I'm hearing Julie.
Yeah, that's why I am fixing right
now. Turn me up.
I know, I did turn you up. I didn't realize how low I had you. I thought I turned you up
What
more.
The heck? Dude?
I know.
I'm trying to get a lore recap. They can't even hear me.
I know. Would you guys, are we good? Are we good? I think we're good. Hold on, I can't.
I think that's about it. I feel like nothing really happened.
Yeah, nothing. I think the next 2 big chapters are the next 2 chapters. So.
Yeah.
Julie, are you ready?
I'm born ready.
Okay. It is your turn. So again, I'm gonna preface this again. Follows, subs, bits, raids. We'll end it, I think I'm at the very end. 1, 2. There will be mentions of Technoblade, so if you guys do need to step away because of, just personally, if you're not feeling, hearing about him because of what's happened, make sure to step away if you need to. Take care of yourself. And, yeah, let anybody know that comes in, like, new. Let them know about what we're doing. So, yeah. Okay. Julie.
The word. All right.
Do it.
Chapter 25. Oh, wait, I remember what else happened.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
They have a plan. Okay, now that I'm louder now. Okay.
Yes, okay.
So they have a plan. So they're all, like, getting into the van, and they're all going to go meet Dream. And Phil's all like, we have a plan. Yes, that's what that is. Okay. I'm so glad I rememred it.
I know. Okay. That's actually really important. Let's go. Okay.
That's actually very important.
I think we are ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
Chapter 25, the final battle. The plan goes into action.
And trigger warning, lots of violence. There's a big fight, I think. So, FYI. But, okay. After Tommy let go of the hug, Techno told him they needed to go get ready because they were going to have to head out soon. Apparently, Phil was going to go over the details of what they needed to do while they drove. Going back to his room, Tommy stared at the mask Phil had given him, trying to think of what he should wear. It needed to be practical, something he could move in. But it also needed to be distinct, since this was going to be his first official appearance as Apollo. Digging through his drawers, Tommy quickly found a pair of bright red cargo pants that he definitely did not remember being there before. Dozens of pockets lined the legs, which Tommy already knew he could use to hold things like bandages and gauze. They were nearly the exact same shade of red as his mask, and Tommy wondered which one of his family members snuck them into his room. His money was on Wilbur. From there, Tommy found a plain black t-shirt that he figured would be good to use in case it got stained with blood. Then, he grabbed an old pair of dark brown boots Wilbur had given him back when Tommy was still borrowing stuff from Wilbur's closet.
He got dressed and put the mask over his head before he looked at himself in his mirror. While he wouldn't say he looked like a supervillain, he looked pretty cool, in all honesty, at least to himself. Well, if he got his ass kicked tonight, at least he was going to do it in style. Tugging his mask back down, Tommy left his room and headed down the stairs. Wilbur, Phil, and Techno were already waiting by the door to the garage, already dressed in their outfits, minus the masks.
When Tommy walked into the kitchen, Wilbur immediately beamed. "You used the pants I bought you!" he exclaimed joyfully. "Fucking knew it was you," Tommy snorted, folding his arms over his chest. "I just sold them one day, and I had a feeling you'd like them," Wilbur told him. "You paired it well with the black shirt to tone it down, and then the plain boots."
"Listen to Mr. Fashion Expert over here," Techno snorted. "Says the one wearing a literal fucking cape," Wilbur fired back, narrowing his eyes at his brother. "Bruh, why you gotta come for my cape?" Techno asked, raising an eyebrow. "Okay, you two, not right now," Phil said, shaking his head. He dug into his pocket and pulled out a piece of white fabric, holding it out to Tommy. "Tommy, here's one last thing that I think you should wear. It's an armband."
Frowning, Tommy pulled the armband onto his left arm, noting how the fabric was snug but not uncomfortable around his bicep. When he looked down at the actual symbol that was printed on it, though, he grinned. "Is this to show I'm medic?" Tommy asked, tracing the bright red cross symbol with his finger. "Yup, figured if the media catches wind of you, might as well have something to show you are a healer," Phil explained, adjusting the armband a bit so the cross was straightened out. "Oh, and fun fact," Wilbur chimed in, giving Tommy a Cheshire grin, "it's technically a war crime to wear the Red Cross symbol if you're not part of the official Red Cross organization."
Tommy beamed at this. "Hell yeah, my first crime as a villain!" Wilbur wiped a fake tear from the corner of his eyes. "They grow up so fast." "All right, kids, you can talk more about war crimes in the car. We need to get going," Phil ordered, shepherding the three of them into the garage. A few minutes later, they were back in the black SUV the family always used for syndicate business. They had all put on their masks, and Tommy slumped down in the back seat, trying to ignore the way his heart was steadily picking up pace the further they drove.
"Okay, boys, here's the plan," Phil began, as he turned down a new street, the orange streetlights casting their familiar glow. "Monarch and Aurelian are already at the meeting spot, and Monarch is going to message me when Dream shows up. We're going to park a few blocks away and walk up to join the group. Now, the order I want us in is me at the front, Techno a bit behind me, with Will and Tommy in the back. Got it?" They all chorused a quick "yes, Phil," before quieting down to let him continue. "Good. Now, Will, you're in charge of keeping an eye on Tommy. If shit goes south, I want you to prioritize getting Tommy out of there above all else, okay?" "Got it," Wilbur said with a nod.
Tommy frowned. "Wait, if things go wrong, shouldn't I stay in case I need to heal you guys?" "We can't keep doing what we've been doing and just come to you to get healed if we're hurt," Phil explained calmly. "You're really only coming because I don't think Dream would negotiate with us if you aren't with us. But if things get messy, I want you to get as far away as you can." While Tommy didn't like it, he knew that it made sense and forced himself to nod. "Thank you, Tommy. Now, we have Nikki, Jack, Hannah, Sam, Tubbo, and Rambu all waiting on standby to help out if shit goes wrong. But I want to call in as few people as possible to minimize risk of injury. So, if things go bad, the first people I'm calling in are just going to be Nikki and Jack. And we'll go down the line from there," Phil continued, sounding so unbothered. It was like he was just talking about the weather.
"Where's Quackity?" Tommy questioned, noticing the man's absence from the roster. Phil let out a small sigh. He's busy with his own shit tonight. Remember, he's more of a business partner with the syndicate than anything else. He tried to show up for the important stuff, but he's got his own work that sometimes gets in the way. Oh. Tommy tried not to look crestfallen at the news, but it definitely bummed him out to hear that Quackity, someone he considered his friend, wasn't going to show up for something as important as this. Don't feel bad, Wilbur reassured him, reaching out to squeeze his shoulder. He cares about you just as much as the others in the syndicate do, but he trusts us to be able to handle this on our own.
Tommy nodded. Okay. He knew Wilbur was right, but he was a mess of nerves right now, and even the smallest thing could bring his mood down catastrophically. Anything else we need to know, Phil? Techno then asked. Just trust me when I say I have a plan, Phil told them, pulling up his veil briefly to flash all of them a reassuring smile. Tommy tried to wrap the words around himself like a blanket, to ease the anxiety thrumming in his chest and the electricity buzzing under his skin. But it didn't do much to help. He was just going to have to deal with being a nervous wreck until the night was over.
They left South Bay behind, and Tommy recognized the comforting streets of East Side. It wasn't long before Techno pulled the car to a stop under a streetlight, and they all did a check to make sure everyone's masks were secure before they hopped out of the car. It was a bit odd to just be a group of supervillains walking down the street, but Tommy supposed this was normal for the other three. There was no one around at this time of night, and their footsteps echoed between the buildings, making Tommy constantly turn around to make sure they weren't being followed. The night air was cool against his bare arms, and Tommy wondered if he should have grabbed a jacket to go with his uniform. At least the pants were plenty warm, and the mask kept his nose from getting cold as well. Still, he huddled close to Wilbur as they passed under the glowing streetlights, and Wilbur silently draped an arm around his shoulder. At one point, Phil took out his phone while walking, and only paused for a second before pocketing it again.
James arrived at the meeting spot. He told them all in a soft voice. We're coming up on the street, so try and stay quiet. Tommy's breathing hitched. Dream was there. The plan had worked, and this was really happening now. They kept walking. Tommy soon figured out where this meeting spot was, and he almost laughed at the painful irony of it all. Of course, it would be in front of the Cloudy Cafe. Where else would they set this meeting up? It was the only place that made sense. It had practically been the center of everything that had happened ever since Tommy healed Siren.
They approached a corner, and Phil held out a hand, telling them to hold back. Now, Tommy could hear faint voices echoing down the street, and when Phil gave him the go-ahead to come closer, he immediately peeked his head around the corner to see what was going on. Sure enough, standing in the middle of the street in front of the cafe was Dream. His cape billowed in the light breeze as he stood in front of Monarch and Aurelian, the gold accents in both their costumes glinting against the streetlights. So, Dream was asking, his arms folded over his chest, you dragged me all the way out here. What information do you have? Well, I might have exaggerated a bit when I said I had information, Monarch explained, and Tommy could hear the smirk in their voice. Really, we just need to repay a favor for a friend.
What the hell you mean by that? Dream demanded, sounding more than frustrated at this point. This was when Phil dropped his hand and stepped out into the street, with Techno close behind, and Wilbur tugging Tommy out so they followed the two of them. Dream immediately heard the footsteps on the asphalt and whirled around. His expression froze in his smiley face as always as he watched Phil form out of the shadows. Oh, I see what this is, Dream said, and Tommy could feel his gaze skimming over him and Wilbur. He fought the urge to flinch, although his legs felt like they were made of wood as they got closer to the man. And here I thought you valued neutrality, Monarch.
I do, Monarch said, their white eyes unreadable as they glanced over the family. I have no loyalties to the Syndicate, just as I have no loyalties to the Hero Committee. Like I said, this was simply me and my partner repaying a favor to a certain healer. Now that we've done our part, we'll be heading out. Nice to see you two, Phil called out, waving at the two vigilantes as they turned down the road. Good luck, guys, Aurelian said, giving them all a cheesy thumbs up as Monarch dragged him around another corner. And with that, it was just the three Syndicate leaders, Tommy, and Dream.
Dream laughed as soon as the vigilantes were gone, and Tommy could feel Dream's eyes raking over him. Of course, I shouldn't be surprised, Dream said, shaking his head. Tommy, You do realize that wearing a mask is a bit pointless when I already know what you look like, right? We don't want any media to see his face, Phil explained, his wings spreading out behind him as if he was trying to block Tommy from view. And before you start, we're not here to fight, Dream. We want to negotiate regarding the blackmail threat you made on our healer. By negotiate, I hope you mean take off your masks so I can see your faces. Because if it's anything but that, Tommy is gonna be going to jail, Dream said, stepping closer so he was face to face with Phil.
I was hoping we could work out some alternate terms, Phil proposed, sounding as measured as he could be while he spoke. Severus, with all due respect, you're not really in a position to be negotiating right now, Dream told him. I have the upper hand here. There's only one thing I want, and if you don't give it to me, then the poor kid you dragged into your world is going to pay the price. It's up to you if you're willing to let that happen. You know we can't give you our identities, Phil said, his wings fluffing up. Dream shrugged. I guess you really don't care about Tommy, then. The poor kid is so blindly loyal to your group, he wouldn't give you up for anything. But clearly, you don't give two shits about him, which is a shame. I actually thought you'd be above manipulating an orphan teenager, Zephyrus, but it looks like I was wrong.
Phil huffed, and Tommy saw Dream flinch. It was barely noticeable, but it was there. And Tommy smiled under his mask, knowing that despite his big talk, Dream at least had some level of fear for Zephyrus. You say that we're the ones who have manipulated a child, but here you are threatening to arrest him for saving someone's life, Phil pointed out, his veil billowing in the wind. We haven't hurt Tommy. We haven't forced him to do something against his will. He helps us because he wants to. We haven't forced him to do something against his will. He helps us because he... Did I read that already? Wow. And here you are, having already kidnapped him once. Now threatening him outright. You can't act so high and mighty compared to us when you pull shit like that, Dream. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't want to do stuff like this, Dream hissed, lurching forward so he was right in Phil's face. You think I wanted to kidnap some random teenager? No. But I knew I wouldn't get a chance to talk to him any other way. The only reason I'm forced to go to these extremes is because I'm doing it all to try and stop you. Tommy is just one of many, many normal people who have been caught in the crossfire of our war, which you started in the first place. Even in war, there are special exceptions given to medics. They are considered neutral as long as they are not a threat to the opposing side. And Tommy has never posed a threat to the Hero Committee, Phil asserted, meeting Dream's stare down to him.
He might not be a threat, but he's not neutral. The day the Syndicate recruited him was the day he picked a side, and picking a side has consequences. I'm just simply seeing the consequences through, Dream shot back, clenching his fists at his side. Now, you either give me what I want, or I'm going to tell 404 to send the CCTV footage to the Hero Committee right this second. Make your choice. Silence fell over the group. Tommy's heart leapt into his throat, and Wilbur tightened the arm he had around Tommy's shoulders. Techno was tensed up behind Phil, but somehow Phil seemed relaxed. Not completely relaxed considering his wings were still puffed up, but he didn't seem to be prepared for a fight like Techno and Dream were. Instead, Phil just reached into his pocket and held up his phone.
Can I make a quick phone call first? Phil asked, and Tommy could hear the smirk in his voice. I guess. Thanks, mate, Phil said before he tapped a few buttons on his phone and held it up to his ear. There were a few seconds of silence before whoever was on the other end picked up. Hey there, you ready? Pause. Great, we're already there. He's not cooperating, so we're gonna need you. Another pause. Thanks. See you in a sec.
And with that, Phil hung up. Who is that? Dream questioned. Just an old friend, Phil said smugly. A few seconds passed. Tommy's heart was pounding in his ears. Was this the plan Phil said he had? Then, there was the sound of a bell chiming, and everyone's heads spun to the right as the doors to the cafe opened. The captain stepped out of her cafe, sheep mask securely fastened over her face, looking exactly like she did when she had retired. Holy shit. This had to have been Phil's plan, and it was fucking genius.
As soon as Puffy stepped out of the cafe, Dream stumbled backwards as if he'd been shot. Captain?
Hi, Dream, Puffy said softly, walking out to join them in the middle of the street, her hands folded behind her back. It's been a while, hasn't it? What are you doing here? Dream stammered. Tommy had never seen Dream taken this off guard. The man was tripping over his own words in a way he had never had when he had Tommy kidnapped. This wasn't a part of any of his plans. Puffy, meanwhile, seemed to slip right back into her element despite her multiple years of retirement. Her steps were measured and slow as she approached Dream. Her hair, though now brown and white instead of just pure white like it had been when she was originally the captain, was tied back in its signature ponytail, and it swung back and forth over her shoulders, perfectly in time with her footsteps.
I'm here because a certain bird told me that you were threatening someone you shouldn't be, Puffy said, having to tilt her head up to look into the eyes of Dream's mask. Somehow, the height difference didn't make her any less intimidating. Captain, you don't understand. He works for the Syndicate, Dream tried to explain, although it sounded more like a little kid trying to tell his mother how the vase got broken, which was jarring compared to how cocky he'd been only minutes earlier. He's a healer for the Syndicate, Puffy corrected, eyeing him up and down. Not to mention, he's also a teenager, and one of my employees at the cafe to boot. Dream immediately whipped his head back towards the Syndicate. Wait, they know who you are?
Puffy nodded. They do. They've known for years. What the fuck, Puffy? Dream asked, taking another step back. You retire and become some fucking friends with the Syndicate? I did, Puffy confirmed. But this isn't about that. I'm here tonight because I can't stand by and watch you ruin a kid's life, all because of your obsession with beating the Syndicate. Oh, not you too, Dream scoffed, shaking his head. I'm doing what I have to do. I don't want to pull this kind of shit, but the Syndicate has left me with no other choice.
Puffy snorted at this. You're wrong, Dream. You absolutely have a choice. You can choose to go back to try to fight the Syndicate the way we always have, and not through dirty tactics like targeting a civilian that knows them. You haven't been in the field for years, Puffy. You have no idea how much things have changed, Dream argued. You have no right to barge in here and try to stop me when I'm closer to getting the Syndicate's identities than I ever have before. I have no right? Puffy questioned, her hands beginning to glow red. You got a lot of nerve saying that to your mentor of all people. I'm the one who taught you how to be a hero in the first place. I would think I still have a right to keep you from going off the deep end. Despite the red glow showing that Puffy was preparing to use her powers, Dream only shook his head. What are you going to do, Puffy? Fight me? Kill me? 1, I don't think you could actually do that to me. And 2, that's not going to stop 404 from releasing the footage to the Hero Committee.
If you release that footage, I'm going to come out of retirement and vouch for Tommy myself, Puffy told him, standing on her tiptoes so they were face to face. Sure, maybe that footage could get a conviction on its own, but if Tommy has the captain defending him, what do you think would happen then? You really think L'Manberg still cares about you that much? That they'd take your word over mine? Dream challenged, although Tommy could hear the uncertainty in his tone. As a matter of fact, Dream, I do, Puffy shot back. Holy shit.
And just like that, the threat of the CCTV footage was gone. Because Tommy knew that no matter how damning the evidence was, if the captain came out of retirement to vouch for him, they wouldn't be able to get a single jury in L'Manberg to convict him. Even if the Hero Committee pulled out all the stops, the people of the city loved the captain. They would listen to her above anyone else. Dream took another step back, and Puffy matched him as she stepped forward, not letting him get a single inch. Why are you doing this for him? Dream then asked, his voice so low, Tommy could barely hear it. You've been gone for years. I haven't heard from you since you left, and now you come out of retirement for him? Why? Puffy pursed her lips. Because he's one of mine, Dream.
There was a pause. Then, I thought I was one of yours, Dream whispered. And that seemed to strike some kind of nerve in Puffy. Her shoulders slumped and her expression softened as she reached a hand up to cup the side of his mask.
You'll always be one of mine, duckling, she told him, gently tracing the porcelain. But I can't let you hurt him, even if you think it's your only option. Dream was silent for a moment at that. Then, he tapped a button on a watch Tommy hadn't noticed he had on his wrist and held it up to his mouth. Back up. I'm gonna need you to come in now. Just like that, Tommy's heart dropped into his stomach. Puffy took a step back from Dream, the red glow returning to her hands as a thin rod of stone rose up from the asphalt, taking the shape of a thin spear.
I don't want to fight you, Dream, Puffy warned him, gripping the spear in her hands as she pointed at him. You made your choice. I made mine, Dream said evenly, a sword lifting behind him. Puffy prepared her spear to strike. Wilbur tightened his grip around Tommy, preparing to bolt. Suddenly, there was a ripping sound in the air as Rewind appeared in between Dream and Puffy. His colorful swirling goggles glowed in the low light, and he stumbled backwards when he noticed Puffy.
Whoa! What's the captain doing here? He asked, nudging Dream's shoulder. It's a long story, but she's not on our side, Dream muttered, shaking his head. Where are the others? They should be coming. Rewind quickly checked a bright purple watch he had on his wrist. Oh, right now! He pointed towards the opposite end of the street, and Tommy paled when he saw the group running at them.
404 was at the front, already brandishing his knives as he sped towards them. Supreme was there as well, although he hung towards the sides, expressions hidden by his red and yellow balaclava, Then, Tommy spotted Flame, running a bit behind 404, his arms already lit up by his fire. A pang of disappointment flashed through Tommy. While he knew Flame probably wouldn't have much of a choice, he had wished the hero could have stayed out of this fight. And lastly, there was... Wait, was that a fucking panther? What the fuck is that thing? Tommy yelped, stumbling backwards as a literal panther slowed to a stop next to Dream.
Suddenly, in the blink of an eye, the panther turned into a guy with bleached hair and a cat mask covering his face. Tommy gave Wilbur a confused look, and he leaned over to explain. That's Fearless. He was a minor hero who retired a few years back. Not sure why he's here, but he can turn into different types of cats, Wilbur explained in a rushed whisper while Techno and Phil readied themselves for a fight. Which, sounds ridiculous on paper, but he can turn into anything between a lion and a house cat in seconds, which is a lot harder to fight than you'd think it would be. Suddenly, Tommy realized that not only did Dream get another hero to come out of retirement for this, but he also had just had all the heroes waiting as a backup right around the corner. That meant he either had been suspicious of Monarch's meeting from the start, or he had just been preparing to have a huge showdown with the Syndicate this whole time. Fine, Dream. If it's a fight you want, then it's a fight you'll get, Puffy said, dawning Tommy's attention back to the front.
And just like that, things fell into chaos. Puffy lunged at Dream with her spear, which he sidestepped easily, blocking her with his sword. A dark knife shot from the air courtesy of 404, which Phil barely dodged in time as he held his phone to his ear, clearly calling Nikki and Jack for help. Techno, meanwhile, had already jumped into action and was taking on both Fearless, who was a panther again, and Flame at the same time. Tommy, we need to go, Wilbur whispered in his ear, grabbing his arm to pull him away. As much as Tommy didn't want to leave the fight, he knew that Wilbur was right. He could heal anyone that got hurt back at their house. There was no sense in him being there right now.
Tommy turned to follow Wilbur back down the other street so they could run back to the car. But they hadn't even made it 5 steps before Tommy felt something grab the back of his shirt. What the? Not so fast, Dream called out, using his power to yank Tommy back into the fight. Tommy was violently yanked off his feet, and he screamed as he flew through the air, slamming into the ground right at Dream's feet. Sorry, but you're not going anywhere. Although Tommy hadn't fallen far enough to get hurt, his head still pounded as he looked up to glare at Dream. Fuck you, he yelled, scrambling to his feet.
Come on, don't make me... Dream was cut off mid-sentence by Puffy body slamming him into him out of nowhere, sending him to the ground with a strangled yelp. Go! I got him! Puffy shouted, fighting to pin Dream to the ground as he struggled underneath her. Nodding at Puffy, Tommy ran back down towards Wilbur, but his eyes widened when he saw Wilbur was no longer alone. Oh, alone. I said alone. Wilbur and Rewind were dancing around each other, with Rewind dodging every single punch or kick Wilbur tried to throw at him. It must have been annoying as hell to try and fight Rewind, considering he could literally just rewind time and predict all your moves. But there was a limit to how much he could after time before he got exhausted. This meant that Wilbur had just had to try and outlast Rewind until he could tire him out.
And while Tommy wasn't a fighter, he could certainly help out with that. Tommy barreled straight ahead while Wilbur struggled to land a hit on Rewind. Right before he could body slam the hero, Rewind jumped out of the way, whipping his head towards Tommy as his mouth opened in surprise. "Oh, who are you?" Rewind asked, taking a few steps back as Wilbur pushed Tommy behind him. "Huh. Guess Dream really hadn't told the other heroes about him."
"Apollo," Tommy answered, curling his hands into fists. Surprisingly, Rewind grinned at this. "Cool name! I haven't seen you around before. Are you new?" Tommy definitely hadn't expected a hero to be this friendly to him, but he hadn't had much interaction with Rewind before, so he supposed the hero was just more chill than the others. Meanwhile, Wilbur, clearly seeing this conversation as a moment of distraction, suddenly pressed his hands over Tommy's ears before he spoke. "Julie." "Julie?" "Julie, are you okay?" "Julie? I can't hear you. If you're talking, I can't hear you." Hold up, chat. Oh, no. Oh, okay. Chat, give a second. Julie's Wi-Fi died. Oh, no. Sorry, chat. Pause. Pause, champ. Hold on. Hold on, chat. I apologize. Hold up. Hold up, hold up, hold up. Oh no, guys. Julie has been having Wi-Fi problems. So, okay. Let's see. Any questions right now? I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are having fun. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I'm enjoying the stream. Everybody stay here. We're all here. Okay? Here. Ah!
Testing?
Okay. Yes, you're back. Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You're chill. I just got so scared. I was like,
Oh no, I'm
okay.
sorry. I didn't
No,
mean
you're
to
good.
scare anyone.
You're good. It's on your part.
I'm not dead, Chad, I promise. Alright.
Julie's back. Okay, good.
I'm back. Okay. Alright, am I at stop using your power?
Yes.
Okay. "Stop using your power," he told Rewind, Tommy only able to make out what he said by reading his lips. And just like that, the smile fell off Rewind's face. "Dang it!" he yelled, the friendliness that was there a moment ago before having disappeared completely. "I was just trying to talk to the new guy." "Not the time, Rewind," Wilbur said, edging away from the hero with Tommy behind him again. "I don't want to fight anyone right now. Just let us go, and my order should wear off in a few minutes."
Rewind frowned, looking like he was considering letting them go. Hope bloomed in Tommy's chest. They just needed to get out of here, and things would be okay. Phil, Techno, and Puffy could handle themselves until Nikki and Jack got there. Tommy knew that. Before Rewind could respond, though, suddenly Wilbur yelped, and Tommy saw a small knife, sticking out of his shoulder. "Shit!" Wilbur yelled, reaching up and yanking the knife out of his with pained hiss. Thankfully, the knife was small enough that it only left a small cut on Wilbur, but the issue was more so the implication of who threw the knife. 404 strolled towards them, swinging one of his throwing knives around his finger. "You know I can't let your kid get away," 404 told Wilbur, his grip tightening on the knife.
"You're not going to fucking touch him," Wilbur hissed, his words echoing with a force that shook Tommy's bones. 404 winced at the command, but continued to walk forward anyway. "You know just as well as I do that our powers don't work very well on each other, Siren." "Believe me, I know," Wilbur muttered, still trying to walk backwards away from 404's approach. So, I suggest that you stop trying to escape down the street with your healer, and I won't throw a knife right into your stomach, 404 threatened, pointing his knife at Wilbur.
Your aim isn't that good, 404, Wilbur scoffed. 404 shrugged at this. Okay, then. And then he threw the knife. Wilbur dodged it easily, ducking down and pushing Tommy out of the way. The knife... Did you just realize what I said?
Yes!
Okay, sorry.
Oh
my god. Okay.
Rewind. You got it.
Okay. Wilbur dodged it easily, ducking down and pushing Tommy out of the way. The knife clattered harmlessly on the ground behind them, and before Tommy could even catch his breath, 404 threw another.
Clearly, Wilbur had practiced jumping out of the way of these. He danced between the knives without much effort, dragging Tommy with him to keep him out of range as well. It was dizzying to be tugged around without a sense of where they were going, but Tommy didn't fight it. Instead, just trusting in Wilbur's senses completely. At one point, though, Wilbur hissed again, and Tommy saw blood drip from the back of his hand. Only a graze, but it had hit him all the same. Immediately, Tommy grabbed his hand and healed it while 404 was distracted, trying to get more of his knives out. Don't do that, Wilbur hissed, ripping his hand out of Tommy's. I'm fine. Don't tire yourself out for me. It's just a tiny scratch. It's not going to tire me out, Tommy argued, the glow in his hands fading quickly. Besides...
Tommy was cut off when Wilbur suddenly yanked him to his chest, and Tommy heard a knife hit the wall behind him. Aw, I'm out, 404 then complained. Wilbur grabbed Tommy's arm, tugging him to run again, but before they could even take a step, Dream! They're getting away! 404 shouted, cupping his hands over his mouth.
At the front of the fight, Tommy saw Puffy pinning Dream to a wall, but as soon as 404 said that, Dream blasted Puffy back with a shockwave. She flew backwards and landed on her feet, but before she could run at Dream again, he was flying straight for Tommy. Dream's boots slammed against the ground, and Tommy stumbled at the next shockwave it sent out. Then, before any of them could say a word, Dream lifted up a hand, and Tommy felt himself get shoved into the nearest wall. It didn't hurt. That was the surprising part. Tommy was struggling against the invisible grip pinning him against the brick, but it wasn't holding him down hard enough to actually hurt him. With the other hand that Dream wasn't using to hold Tommy, he lifted two swords out of their hilts to float above his head. Wilbur opened his mouth to spout out a command.
Let him... Before he could finish his sentence, though, the two swords above Dream's head surged forward. Maybe if Wilbur hadn't already been exhausted from dodging 404's knives, he wouldn't have been able to dodge. Maybe if Wilbur hadn't been so focused on protecting Tommy, running at him instead of away from Dream, he would have been able to dodge. Maybe if Tommy hadn't come to this fight in the first place, Wilbur would have been able to dodge, but Tommy would never get to answer those maybes because Wilbur wasn't able to dodge out of the way of Dream's swords.
No! Tommy screamed as both the swords stuck themselves straight into Wilbur's gut. There was a horrible moment of silence as Wilbur looked down at the weapons sticking out from his torso, as if he was in shock. Then, Dream pulled the swords back out, and blood began to pour down the front of Wilbur's sweater. Wilbur stared blankly at Tommy for a moment before his knees buckled, and he collapsed onto the asphalt.
No! Let me go, you fucking bastard! Tommy screamed. He screamed as loud as he could, fighting against the invisible hand holding him to the wall. He tried to kick and bite as hard as possible, but there was nothing for him to fight against because there was only air. The swords floated back to Dream, dripping with Wilbur's blood. He slid them back into their hilts before he turned to look at Tommy. He took one step towards Tommy, then another.
Before he could take a third, a sword bloomed from Dream's chest. Don't touch my brothers, Techno spat, pulling the blade out in one swift motion. Dream stared in shock at the blood staining his chest, and 404 darted forward to drag him back towards the other side of the fight, where Supreme was already running towards them. The invisible hand holding onto Tommy disappeared, and he collapsed onto the concrete with a heavy breath. He stumbled to his feet and sprinted towards Wilbur, who was laying face down against the street.
Wilbur, Tommy whispered, shaking his shoulder. Wilbur, can you hear me? I'm here, Wilbur whimpered, wincing as Tommy pushed him onto his back. Tommy was already rubbing his hands together, preparing to heal the stab wounds. But a hand on his shoulder stopped him. You need to get him out of here before you heal him, Techno told him. I'll make sure you guys can escape. Hide where Dream won't find you. Phil and I will get you when this is over. Looking to the front of the fight again, Dream could see 404 holding off Puffy and Felix, holding off Phil as Supreme healed Dream. It wouldn't be long before he was back in the fight, so this would be the only chance they had to escape.
Couldn't, Tommy said before he grabbed Wilbur's shoulders and yanked him up. Wilbur cried out as Tommy forced him up, and Tommy hated seeing his brother in pain, but he knew they didn't have time to even do a mini heal right now. Fuck! Wilbur yelped as Tommy pulled him to his feet. He leaned heavily against Tommy's side, and Tommy could feel his blood soaking into his shirt. Before they could finally get out of there, though, there was another shout of, "Wait!"
Glancing behind him, Tommy paled when he saw Flame standing in front of Techno. Tommy met Flame's eyes. A beat passed as they stared at each other, with Tommy silently pleading as much as he could with the one hero who had been kind to him before. Please, if you want to make it up to me, let us go. As if he was able to read his mind, the flames dancing along the hero's arms immediately died out.
I'm not going to stop you, Flame said, holding his hands up in surrender. Get out of here, now! That was all the encouragement Tommy needed. With Wilbur practically dropping all of his weight onto Tommy, he did his best to run away from the fight, turning down the nearest street and ignoring the screaming in his legs. Wilbur was a lot taller than him, by a lot. Tommy knew this full well and had never considered it much more than an annoyance, but now it was his undoing. Because being taller than him meant that Wilbur was also heavier than him, to the point where Tommy was panting for breath before they'd even made it a block away. In the distance, he heard Dream yell,
"Where are they?" Knowing he couldn't run anymore, Tommy dragged Wilbur into a nearby alleyway. There was a single dumpster sitting against a wall, and Tommy set Wilbur down so the dumpster was between them and the entrance to the alley, wincing when Wilbur let out another whimper at the movement. In a way, it reminded Tommy of the first alley, the one he'd healed Siren in all that time ago. It wasn't the same and actually seemed a bit cleaner than the first one, but it was still eerily reminiscent of it. How ironic. And now here he was again, with this famous supervillain bleeding out in front of him. But things were so different now, so very different.
"Oh, Tommy," Wilbur whispered as Tommy laid him down on the ground so he'd be able to heal it better. "I know. It hurts. I'm sorry," Tommy whispered back, reaching for the edge of his shirt so he could get a proper look at the wound. "I'm gonna fix it, okay? You'll be okay." "No," Wilbur breathed, fumbling to try and grab Tommy's wrist. You can't heal me." Tommy paused and pulled down his mask to frown at Wilbur. "What? Of course I'm gonna heal you, you fucking bitch!"
"No," Wilbur repeated, shaking his head. "Dream is... he's still after you. If you heal this, you'll be too tired to run." "I've healed worse than this. I'll be fine," Tommy said, although he wasn't sure if that was true. Wilbur shook his head, a small cry escaping his lips when he jostled the stab wounds. "It's worse. Worse than what you healed when you found me. I can feel it." Clenching his jaw, Tommy tried to tell himself that Wilbur was just lying, and pushed Wilbur's hands away so he could get a look for himself.
Oh, the first time Tommy had found Wilbur, the hole in his gut had been ridiculous, but had missed his vital organs. That was why bleeding out was his biggest concern. More so than anything else, this was different. Tommy had done some studying up on anatomy since becoming a healer for the Syndicate, and he could tell that the swords had sliced clean through both his stomach and his liver. Dream's swords were razor sharp, and blood was already starting to soak into Tommy's pants as it pulled out beneath them both.
Bile rose in his throat. Wilbur was right. This was worse. Still, it didn't matter. He could heal it. He had to. Tommy put his hands on the wound, but Wilbur made a sound of protest.
Don't, he pleaded, using his free hand to pull up his mask. Please, don't kill me, Tommy. You can't get captured by him again. It's not worth it. In the distance, Tommy heard something loud crash against a wall, followed by Dream yelling. It was closer than before, which meant he was looking for them. Looking for him. They're being fucking stupid. You're gonna die if I don't heal you, Tommy exclaimed, his voice cracking as his eyes began to burn. I don't care if Dream captures me again. I'd rather you be alive. Wilbur's dark gaze met his own, and there was more yelling that was even closer than before.
You can't heal me, Wilbur ordered, his voice echoing even though it was barely anything more than a whisper. Tommy's eyes widened in horror as the command echoed in his mind. You can't heal him. You can't heal him. You can't heal me. Why would you do that? Tommy whispered, horrified tears spilling down his cheeks. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I'm so sorry, Wilbur whispered, but you need to run. Please. Tommy stared at Wilbur in horror, unable to tear his eyes away from the blood still spilling from his stomach. His heart was pounding in his ears as he tried to will himself to put his hands on the wound and heal them like he'd done so many times before. But any time he even thought about lifting his hands, the order would echo in his mind. You can't heal him. You're a fucking idiot! Tommy cried out, realizing that Wilbur was going to die and there was nothing he could do about it. Now I just have to sit here and watch you die?
No. Leave me, Wilbur pleaded, reaching out to squeeze Tommy's hand, but his grip was so weak. Tommy could barely feel it. I'm not leaving you, Tommy sobbed, squeezing Wilbur's hands as he tried to think of something, anything he could do. Undo the order so I can fix this. Suddenly, there were footsteps right outside the alleyway, and Tommy froze. Did I hear someone crying? Dream's voice called out, Tommy, is that you in there? Tommy's heart was racing a mile a minute as he listened to the footsteps echo off the alley walls. There was nowhere to run. He was cornered and Wilbur was dying and Dream was going to find them any fucking second now. So Tommy did the only thing he could do. He threw himself on top of Wilbur to shield him and hid his face in his brother's shoulder to muffle his cries. Wilbur then rested a hand on top of Tommy's back, but there was barely any rise and fall to his chest. The footsteps got closer. Tommy squeezed his eyes shut, preparing to feel a hand grip his shoulder and rip him off of Wilbur. And then there was another voice. Dream, we're not finished yet, Puppy shouted from outside the alleyway. The footsteps paused. Puffy, please, you don't... Get out of here now, Puppy ordered. If Tommy didn't know any better, he'd think she had some kind of siren voice herself, because there was only a split second of hesitation before Dream was practically racing out of the alleyway. Tommy didn't know if Puffy knew he was in there, but she led Dream away all the same. The voices faded as the fight went back towards the cafe, and Tommy nearly sobbed in relief once they were gone. They're gone now, Will, Tommy told his brother, straightening up so he wasn't laying on top of Wilbur any longer. I don't think Dream will come back this way, so I can heal you now. There was no response. All of his blood turned to ice in that moment. The hand that had been resting on his back was limp, and there was a quiet ringing in his ears as Tommy glanced up to Wilbur's face. Wilbur's eyes were open, but they were empty. He wasn't blinking. He wasn't trying to say something. He wasn't doing anything. Will? Tommy whispered, his eyes burning again. Please, don't do this to me. He searched for any sign of life. Reaching up, Tommy pressed his fingers to Wilbur's neck and couldn't find a pulse. The tears spilled over his cheeks again as Tommy stared into the eyes of his dead brother. No, don't do this, Tommy repeated, his voice growing louder. Don't fucking do this to me. You don't get to be dead, you bastard. Nothing. No response. A vicious sob tore its way out of Tommy's throat as he grabbed Wilbur's shoulders and began to shake him. This couldn't be real. There was no way. Wilbur wasn't dead. He was just fucking with him. He had to be. Wilbur, please, Tommy cried, shaking him off. Stop this. It's not fucking funny. Wilbur had gone completely limp, almost like a rag doll.
It made Tommy want to throw up.
Letting go of his shoulders, Tommy glanced back down at the stab wound that was still oozing blood from his stomach, but at a much slower rate than before. Narrowing his eyes, Tommy found he was able to lift his hands without any struggle now. There was no voice in his head telling him he couldn't heal Wilbur, and Tommy didn't want to think about what it implied. Instead, he pressed his hands on top of the stab wound and willed them to heal. Nothing happened. "Come on," Tommy muttered, gritting his teeth as he tried to focus all his energy into his hands. "Don't fucking do this! I can heal this! I know I can!"
But he couldn't heal something that was dead. Tommy knew that full well. One time, long before he'd healed Siren, Tommy found a bird on the side of the road that had been hit by a car. He picked it up in his hands and tried to heal it, but his hands refused to glow. No matter how many times he tried, his powers just wouldn't work on the bird. And right now, while his hands were coated red with Wilbur's blood, there was no familiar orange glow. "Please!" Tommy sobbed, squeezing his hands shut as he begged his powers to work. "Let me save him!"
He had to save Wilbur. Tommy refused to lose his brother so soon after finding him. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was going to save Wilbur.
And then, as Tommy sobbed while trying to stop the blood from flowing out of the wounds, something happened. It started with a worm in his hands. But it wasn't like when he normally healed people. No, this wasn't a pleasant warmth. Instead, it was like he was holding fire in his palms. His eyes flickered open and he saw the light had returned to his palms, but it was different than the usual orange. This light was as gold as could be. It was like Tommy was staring at pure sunlight as the fire in his hands grew hotter and hotter. Soon, the heat raced up from his palms and onto his arms, and it spread to his shoulders, his back, his chest, everywhere. Tommy's head was screaming in pain, and it only got worse with every passing second. His vision was spinning, and he shut his eyes again, trying to focus on the burning energy that was slowly consuming him. Tears poured down his cheeks, but even they felt like drops of magma against his cheeks.
Healing had never been this hard before. The pain was nearly unbearable, but Tommy refused to let go. The golden light behind his eyes grew even brighter, and a scream tore itself from Tommy's throat as the fire inside of him grew hotter than he could have ever imagined. It was like the very core of his being was being pulled into the ground, and it took all of his effort to keep himself from letting himself be yanked into the cool darkness. And then it stopped. All at once, the burning disappeared, and the light went with it. Without thinking, Tommy ripped his hands away from Wilbur, cradling them to his chest as he struggled to catch his breath. Black dots spotted his vision. Tommy knew he should be trying to check something, but his head was in far too much pain to think straight right now.
Without even really willing himself to do it, Tommy pitched forward, collapsing on top of Wilbur once again. His head was spinning, and the promise of sleep was creeping up on him. As the world around him started to disappear, Tommy heard a loud gasp next to his ear, and felt the chest underneath him rise up. The last thing Tommy felt before he passed out were a pair of cool arms wrapping around him, and Tommy knew he was safe.
Oh,
Chapter 25!
Hold on.
Are you okay?
No! Oh. Okay. Funny story. I highlighted these chapters way before, like during the last, the second to last chapters.
Yeah.
So I forgot about all of this. So.
Oh.
Okay.
You've done this to yourself.
I have done this to myself. And we did this to chat.
Yeah, we did. Tangled. Actually, no, never mind. I'm not gonna say anything.
What? Oh, okay.
No. Oh, chat, are we doing okay?
Are we doing okay, chat? How are we feeling?
I see lots of crying. I see pain. I see laughing. Stop, drop, and roll, bitch.
That was so funny. That was so funny.
So funny.
And we still have another chapter. Yep.
Yep, we still have one more chapter.
Oh, okay.
Name without the S.
Yeah. Let's see. Marley, thank you for the follow. Okay. I know next chapter. I'm gonna move over to the next chapter. Oh no, I don't want it to be over. Okay.
Oh, stop.
Okay. 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 Let's see. I hope you guys are enjoying this so far. I hope you guys are liking this. Let's see. Okay. Before we start again, I hope you guys are doing okay. If you need to step away, take care of yourself. Let's see. Final chapter. Chapter 26. Again, as follows. Subs, bits, rates, all that fun stuff will be thanked at the end of the chapter. How's this all gonna get solved in one chapter? I don't know. I don't know this story. I don't know. Julie knows more than I do. I'm in the dark right now. I'm in the dark. I'm literally like, as I'm reading, that's when I'm finding stuff out. It's so bad. It hurts. But, okay.
Yeah.
Julie, you want to go ahead and do the chapter and the summary one last time for TommyInnits Clinic for Supervillains?
One last time.
Come back, have a drink with me.
Scroll down a little bit on your screen so I can read it on your stream.
Okay, there you go.
Oh,
I scrolled. I was really...
Yeah, okay, I got it. All right. Chapter 26. The end is the beginning. It's finally over.
Oh my gosh, wait, there's art from Emmy Artsy? What? Okay, we will definitely look into that.
I know Emmy.
I know you know Emmy. I know Emmy because you know Emmy. Okay. The final chapter. Okay. Tommy woke up with a pounding headache. Blinking open, crusted over eyes, he was just able to make out his familiar ceiling and could feel soft sheets wrapped around his body. Everything ached. All of his muscles were sore, his head was throbbing, and even the act of opening his eyes was starting to exhaust him. It felt like he'd been run over by a car. But not just once, it felt like he'd gotten run over, and then the car reversed to run over him a second time, and then it drove forward again to hit him a third time as well, just for good measure. Suffice to say, he felt like shit.
His mind was groggy as he tried to think back on what had happened. They had been going to meet with Dream, and then 404 had tried to throw knives at them, and then Dream stabbed Bolting upright in his bed, Tommy hissed as the movement sent a huge spike of pain through his head, and he squeezed his eyes shut as he brought his hands up to his temples. "Tommy?" a familiar voice said.
"Dad?" Tommy mumbled without thinking, keeping his eyes shut. There was a beat of silence, and Tommy could have sworn he heard Phil sniffle. Then, "Hey, Toms." Suddenly, there was a warm hand wrapping around his wrist, and Tommy blinked open his eyes again to see his father.
Sorry, I'm not the angel duo. Daddy called him Dad. Okay. Phil was sitting on the chair next to his bed, much like Tubbo and Rombu had been doing when Tommy had first woken up after being kidnapped. He moved his hand down Tommy's wrist to gently squeeze his hand, and Tommy could see there were dark bags under his eyes. "How are you feeling?" Phil asked, giving him a warm smile despite his eyes glittering like they were full of tears. Tommy opened his mouth to answer, but paused when he remembered what else had happened before he passed out. The alley. Trying to keep Wilbur from bleeding out, trying to shake him awake and begging him not to be dead.
That blinding light and the fire racing through his veins, his own screams echoing in his ears. "Was Wilbur?" Tommy asked, ripping his hand out of Phil's. Is he okay? I thought that He's okay." Phil cut him off, resting a hand on his shoulder. Tommy took a shaky breath as he remembered what it was like to try and shake Wilbur awake, only for him to sit there and completely limp.
I could have sworn he cut himself off this time, a choked sob bubbling up in his throat. "Are you sure he's okay?" he asked Phil, tears now swimming in his eyes. "He's all right, Tommy. You saved his life." Phil reassured him, squeezing his shoulder. "He's alive because of you." "Oh, thank God. Where is he?" Tommy asked, looking around his room and realizing he and Phil were the only people in it. I need to see him. He needed to get the mental image of Wilbur's dead body out of his head. He needed proof that his brother was alive.
He's in his room. Before Phil could finish his sentence, Tommy pushed the blankets back to try and climb out of bed. But when he put his feet on the ground, the minute he tried to shift his weight onto his legs, they started shaking so badly he couldn't even find it in him to stand up. Fuck! Why am I so weak? Tommy hissed, gritting his teeth as he tried to force his body to cooperate. You really overexerted yourself, Phil told him, standing up and pushing him back down onto the bed. Don't try to get up. Techno can carry you.
Hey, Techno! Phil called out, cutting Tommy off. Can you come here? From the hallway outside his door, Tommy heard another door open. Then there were shuffling footsteps, and Techno appeared in his doorway. As soon as Techno saw Tommy was awake, there was a drop in his shoulders, and something like relief flickered through his face. Good to see you're awake, Apollo.
Distantly, Tommy remembered Techno snarling at Dream not to touch his brothers. Brothers. Plural. If he wasn't so worried about Wilbur, Tommy would have made some comment about it. But at that moment, he only had one thing on his mind. Everything else could wait. He wants to go see Will, but he can't stand, Phil explained for him. Since Will isn't really up for getting out of bed either, can you carry him? Tommy frowned. I don't need to be carried.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
No, I'm okay. You just tried to stand and couldn't, Phil reminded him. Trust me, Tommy. You're like carrying a bag of grapes. It's not a big deal, Techno told him as he approached the bed. While Tommy wanted to argue that he was fucking fine and didn't need to be carried like a baby, anxiety was still buzzing in his chest the more he thought about Wilbur. The more he fought, the longer it would take to get proof that Wilbur was okay. So he just had to suck up his embarrassment for the time being and accept the help. Fine. Take me to him, Tommy said, reaching his arms up at Techno.
Huffing, Techno leaned down and scooped his arms under Tommy's legs and back. There was no grunting or struggle as Techno hoisted Tommy up, and Tommy found himself leaning into Techno's chest as Phil opened the door to his room for them. The constant bouncing with every step Techno took made Tommy's already pounding head spin even more, so he squeezed his eyes shut and hid his face in Techno's chest as they made their way out of the hallway. It was only a few steps across the hall into Wilbur's room. Ignoring the nausea rolling over him, Tommy forced himself to open his eyes when they stepped through the next doorway. Wilbur's room looked exactly the same as it had before they left for the meeting. Messy as hell. But now Tommy could see some blood-stained clothes shoved into the far corner, and some extra bandages sitting on his nightstand.
But Tommy barely paid attention to that. Instead, as soon as he met a familiar pair of warm brown eyes, Tommy's heart leapt into his throat. Hey, Toms, Wilbur said softly, giving him a small smile. Wilbur was propped up in his bed, with several puffy pillows supporting his back. He was pale, with deep bags sitting under his eyes. He looked just as bad as Tommy felt, but there was one part of his appearance in particular that caught Tommy's eyes. Well, Tommy whispered, as Techno set him on the bed, staring at Wilbur's hair. Why the hell is that white in your hair?
Most of Wilbur's hair was the same chocolate brown as it had always been, but one of the curls that fell right in front of his face was now stark white, reminiscent of snow. Wilbur huffed out a weak laugh. I'm not sure, but I think it happened when you brought me back to life. Tommy blinked, the realization setting in. He had brought Wilbur back to life, hadn't he? Wilbur hadn't been breathing. His heart had stopped pumping blood. Tommy wasn't supposed to be able to heal things that were dead, and yet he'd managed to force his power to work on Wilbur.
That was something to work out for another time, when his head wasn't pounding like a jackhammer. Before Tommy could really try to formulate his thoughts into a response, suddenly Wilbur was leaning forward in the bed and grabbed a strand of Tommy's own hair. Well, look, Wilbur said, tugging a bit of Tommy's own curls down his forehead so he could see. We're matching. Sure enough, the strand of hair Wilbur had grasped in his fingers wasn't gold like the rest of his hair. It was pure white, just like Wilbur's. Tommy went cross-eyed, staring at it for a moment, before Wilbur let go and leaned back against his pillows again.
Tommy stared blankly at his brother for a moment. He took in the white streak in Wilbur's hair, the paleness of his skin, The way he was giving Tommy a shy smile, like he was happy to see him but worried at the same time. Wilbur was here. He was sitting right in front of him, looking a bit worse for wear, but breathing all the same. Without thinking, Tommy scooted forward on the bed until he was right next to Wilbur. Then, with trembling hands, he brought up his finger to Wilbur's throat, right where his pulse was. There, underneath his skin, his pulse was thudding in a steady thump, thump, thump. Not like before. The pulse was real. It was there.
Smile fading, Wilbur brought a hand up to cover the hand Tommy had on his neck. "I'm alive," he whispered, squeezing his hand lightly. "I'm not going anywhere. I promise." And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. A sob tore out of his throat, and Tommy lunged forward for his brother, wrapping his arms around him and burying his face in his warm shoulder. Wilbur immediately tugged him close, and although Tommy knew Phil and Techno were still in the room watching this all go down, he couldn't bring it in himself to care. It worked. Somehow, Tommy had done the impossible and brought Wilbur back to life.
Wilbur's arms were tight around his shoulders, and Tommy sobbed as a million emotions flooded through his mind. His fear, his pain, his grief, his relief, his anger, there was so much washing over him at once. Tommy could hear Wilbur's siren voice in his head again, the soft echo of his command to not let Tommy heal him. Suddenly, overcome with white-hot rage, Tommy pulled back from the hug, facing Wilbur with tear-streaked cheeks. "Are you..."
Before Wilbur could finish that sentence, Tommy brought his hand up and slapped Wilbur across the face as hard as he could. A deafening smack echoed through the room. There were a few beats of silence after Wilbur's head snapped to the side, a red handprint quickly forming on his cheek. Then, "Yeah, I think I deserved that," Wilbur muttered.
"You're such a fucking idiot!" Tommy yelled, the relief and anger swirling inside of him to create a strange mix of emotions that he could barely process. "I can't believe you used your fucking voice to keep me from healing you!" "You did what?" Phil cut in, when Techno let out an alarmed, "Huh?" Sighing, Wilbur lifted his head back up, not dropping his arms from where they were still wrapped around Tommy. I don't really have a good excuse for that." "Yeah, you fucking don't," Tommy hissed, more hot tears streaming down his face. We talked about this, Wilbur. You're not a fucking martyr."
"I know, and it was a fucking stupid thing of me to do," Wilbur said, pulling Tommy back down to the shoulder. Tommy didn't try to fight it. He curled closer to Wilbur, hiding his face in his sweater as the mental image of Wilbur's dead body just kept flashing in his mind. "You're such a fucking idiot," Tommy repeated, his voice muffled by fabric. "I am. I know," Wilbur agreed, bringing a hand up to card through Tommy's hair. I was so out of it from blood loss, and I could hear Dream coming down the street. I knew I couldn't defend you anymore, and I just wanted to get you out of there before he showed up. So I thought if I made it so you couldn't heal me, you would run."
"You were wrong. I'd never leave you like that," Tommy told him, not bothering to lift his head. "Yeah, I realize that now," Wilbur said, letting out a humorless laugh. "I should have known you'd pull something like learning how to revive the dead just to save my sorry ass." Tommy still had no idea how he did that, and he wasn't sure if he'd ever know. But it had worked, and that was what mattered most. That Wilbur was here now, and Tommy could yell at him for being a fucking asshole, that he was alive and hugging Tommy, and Tommy was able to keep his family intact. "Wait," Phil suddenly cut in, and Tommy felt the bed dip as Phil sat on the edge. "You used your voice to tell Tommy not to heal you."
Although Tommy didn't lift his head, he could imagine Wilbur's sheepish look. Yeah, I knew that healing me would make Tommy too tired to run from Dream, and he was getting close to the alley we were hiding in. So in my I've just been stabbed delirium, I thought it was a good idea to just make it so he couldn't heal me, so he'd leave me behind," Wilbur explained. Techno made a sound of disapproval. "You shouldn't have done that." "Yeah, I fucking know," Wilbur hissed, sounding a little impatient. "I'm not gonna pull shit like that again. Believe it or not, death wasn't exactly a fun experience that I'd like to go through again."
Frowning, Tommy lifted his head from Wilbur's shoulder, just the tiniest bit so he could see his face. Wait, you remember it? The annoyance faded from Wilbur's face at Tommy's soft question, and he nodded as his eyes glazed over. It's fuzzy, but I remember. There was a train station. And I was so fucking lonely down there, standing on an empty platform, waiting for a train I knew would never come. It sounds more like a limbo than the afterlife, Techno commented. Maybe, Wilbur shrugged, gently pushing Tommy's head back down so he could continue to run his fingers through his hair. All I know is that eventually a train stopped, and Tommy was on it.
Was? Tommy frowned, not having experienced anything like that. Wilbur snorted. Yeah, you were. You didn't talk, but you just scowled at me and yanked me onto the train. Next thing I knew, I was waking up here. That was strange. Tommy didn't experience anything like that, but he had to admit that didn't sound like a very pleasant afterlife. You're not going to do anything like that again, Phil said, huffing a bit.
Yeah, I won't, Wilbur assured. Like I said, I really don't want to see that train station again. Good, Tommy grumbled, readjusting so he was no longer hidden in Wilbur's shoulder, but had his head resting on Wilbur's chest. Underneath his head, he could hear the steady thump, thump, thump of Wilbur's heart, and it eased the lingering anxiety he had. Now that Tommy knew that Wilbur was alive, the panic racing in his veins finally eased up enough for his thoughts to clear. Wilbur was okay, which meant now Tommy had something else to worry about. So, Tommy started, drawing all eyes back to him. What happened with them, Dream?
Although no one seemed particularly upset or worried, which made him want to believe things had worked out, they might have just been more focused on Wilbur for the time being, and pushed the problems with Dream to the side. Phil and Techno shared a silent look before Phil sighed and folded his hands together. Well, he's not going to be a problem anymore. At least not to you, Phil told him, giving him a reassuring smile. Basically, after you and Will left the fight, Puffy and I did our best to subdue him. Eventually, Puffy managed to get him pinned. He gave him an ultimatum. Apparently, she has pictures of Dream's face, so either she would show us, the Syndicate, his face, or he had to make a deal with her. What was the deal? Tommy asked, furrowing his brows.
Since she already agreed to stand by you, if he released the video footage, that meant his blackmail was useless. So she made him promise that, from his point forward, everything would go back to the way it was before you started healing for us. Dream basically has to leave our healer alone. And in turn, we have to leave Supreme alone as well. Although we never targeted him in the first place. Healers need to be considered neutral, and he can't use your civilian identity against you. Phil explained, not looking all too pleased at the explanation. Wait, so you didn't kill him? Tommy asked, having fully expected that to be the news he heard. I wanted to, Techno growled, but Puffy wouldn't let me. Yeah, she wouldn't let anyone kill him, which I wasn't super thrilled about. Phil shrugged, his wings shifting with the movement, but Puffy is a good friend of mine, so I respected her wishes about the whole thing. She promised that if he ever pulls this kind of shit against you again, she'll handle him.
For some strange reason that Tommy couldn't pin, he was actually relieved. Despite everything Dream had put him through, there had been a lingering knot of worry in his chest that Dream would be dead. While he knew he had no reason to feel bad for Dream, given the fact that the hero had literally kidnapped him and tried to throw him in jail, Tommy just couldn't stand the idea of knowing that he was the reason for Dream's death. Thank you, Tommy murmured, relaxing further into Wilbur's hold. I'm really glad that you didn't kill him. Thank Puffy, not us, Techno grunted. This made Tommy snort. You're right. Puffy's the real hero. She gets all the credit.
To be fair, she kinda does, Techno told him with a shrug. If Phil hadn't managed to convince her to come out of retirement, we would have been screwed. Wait, Wilbur cut in suddenly. You never explained that to us, Phil. Why did you keep me and Tommy out of the loop for the plan? Ducking his head, Phil laughed awkwardly. Well, it wasn't anything against you two. It was more so that I just wasn't sure if Puffy was going to end up agreeing to come out of retirement for this, so I didn't want to get hopes up. I also didn't think it was fair to ask her for something as huge as this and then go, by the way, if you say no, Tommy will know you could have helped him and you didn't. Well, Tommy makes sense, but what about me? Wilbur pushed it, frowning at Phil.
You're petty as fuck and would have been pissed at Puffy if she said no, Phil explained with a flat stare. Tommy let out a startled laugh at this. It was true. Wilbur was petty as fuck, but Wilbur didn't seem to agree. I'm not petty. You are too, Tommy said, shifting his head so he was looking up at Wilbur's face.
Wilbur scowled. No, I'm not, you brat. You literally are. Huffing, the white streak in Wilbur's hair fell over his eyes again, and Tommy paused to pull down his own matching one again. It was almost like that night never happened. Like it was all just a bad dream, because now Wilbur and Tommy were both here, alive and well. But the hair was evidence that it wasn't a dream. That all that had been real.
Smile fading, Tommy twirled the white in his hair around his finger while the others quieted down. So, is it over then? He asked after a few minutes, glancing between Wilbur, Phil, and Techno's faces. Are we okay now? Am I going to be able to stay with you? Was his silent question. Reaching out, Phil pushed Tommy's hair back from his face, and Tommy immediately leaned into the gentle touch.
Yeah, it's over, Tommy. Phil reassured him. You're home now, and we're going to make sure it stays that way. As Phil ran his fingers through Tommy's hair, Wilbur rubbed small circles into his shoulder blade, and Techno flashed him a small but wholly genuine smile. While Tommy found himself believing every word of what Phil said, he was home.
Breaking the chapter. Ooh, I need water. Give me a sec.
Okay.
Yeah.
Water.
Oh my gosh. This fix so good.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Insane. Okay, it's Tommy. Holy shit, this place is awesome! Walking through Tubbo and Rambu's new apartment, Tommy gaped at how big the place was, and how much nicer it smelled compared to their last apartment. I know, right? We kept telling Phil we didn't need a place like this, but he really thought we'd like this one best, Rambu told him, running his hand along the unstained white wall. The new apartment sat on the border between South Bay and East Side. It was in a new building, meaning no one had actually lived in this unit. Until now. Once Tubbo and Rambu had accepted the offer of joining the syndicate, Phil's first order of business had been to make sure the boys had a decent place to live, waving off any arguments as it being part of their salary, despite the fact that syndicate members didn't really have salaries.
Now, here they were, standing in the middle of an apartment that Phil had completely bought outright for the boys. There was one wall with floor-to-ceiling windows that faced out into the city skyline, letting in so much fresh sunlight. Tommy felt like he could just lay on the floor and fall asleep in the warmth like a cat. Everything in the apartment was new, save for the few things the boys had wanted to keep from their old place. Amidst the plush furniture and shining countertops, Tubbo's old computer was shoved into a corner, a mess of wires falling over the hardwood floors in a clump that you couldn't pay Tommy to try and untangle. Rambu's DS was settled on the coffee table, and Tommy's favorite sweatshirt had been tossed over the back of their new couch. It was strange, seeing these little bits of their old home in this shiny new space. It granted a sense of familiarity, but at the same time it felt foreign. Like if Tommy spilled something, some rich person was going to rush out of the closet and yell at him. That didn't mean any of the trio disliked it. Quite the opposite, in fact. Tubbo had already made himself comfortable on the couch, while Rambu was digging through the fridge to see what kind of food Techno had stocked it up with.
It's all potatoes, Rambu announced after a few minutes of searching, closing the fridge door with a sigh. You've got to be fucking kidding me, Tommy scoffed, rushing over to take a look for himself. Cold air blasted Tommy as he swung the fridge door open. Sure enough, while there were a few essentials like eggs and milk, most of the shelves were lined with microwavable meals of mashed potatoes or potato pancakes. God damn it, Techno, Tommy huffed, slamming the door shut again.
Sorry. It's fine. We'll just go grocery shopping to get some other stuff, Rambu said, not seeming all that annoyed about the copious amount of starch in their fridge. It's so weird to remember we can just do that now. Tubbo chimed in, sitting upright on the couch so he could look at Tommy and Rambu. Like, it's still taking a bit to sink in that we don't have a budget so hard for food anymore. That was one of Phil's conditions for the two boys to join the syndicate. Not only did they get a nicer place to live, they now had an entire spending account to use for whatever they needed. Of course, Tubbo and Rambu had both already insisted they would only use it for food, but Tommy doubted Phil would care if they bought themselves an Xbox with it or something. Have you guys gotten all of your clothes and stuff moved over yet? Tommy asked, eyeing the suitcases still sitting in the front of the door.
Tubbo groaned, while Rambu chuckled. Yeah, we have them here, but we haven't unpacked anything yet. I hate unpacking shit, Tubbo complained, flopping back down on the couch. I think we all do, Tubbo, Rambu pointed out, leaning against the counter. But it's probably a good idea to hold off. At least until you move your stuff over too, Tommy. Tommy froze. Shit. Yeah, the reason he'd come over to the apartment today in the first place, he had to figure out how to break the news to them.
While Tommy knew it wasn't something he should feel guilty about, he couldn't help the ache that echoed through his chest every time he thought over this decision. It wasn't that he wanted to put distance between himself and his best friends, but he had another family he wanted to live with too. Rambu noticed the way Tommy's face fell at this comment and immediately pushed off the counter to stand in front of him. Are you alright? He asked softly. I'm fine, but I wanted to talk to you guys about that, actually, Tommy said, eyes ducking to the ground. About the whole, me moving in thing? Let me guess, Tubbo cut in, climbing off the couch. You want to stay with Soots?
Tommy winced and forced himself to nod. Yeah, it's not that I care about them more than I care about you guys or anything. You're still my family, and that's never going to change, but it's different, you know? Suddenly, a pair of warm hands were on his shoulders, and Tommy looked up to see Rambu giving him a reassuring smile. Tommy, don't worry. We figured you were probably going to want to stay with them. Yeah, dude! Phil's literally filling out adoption paperwork for you, Tubbo snorted, having joined the two standing to lean against Tommy's side. This isn't a surprise at all. But you're not upset? Tommy asked, glancing between the two of them.
I mean, it's not like we're never gonna see you again or anything, Tubbo huffed. You better be coming over to hang out all the damn time. Of course, Tommy explained, horrified by the suggestion that he wouldn't want to hang out with his best friends anymore. I was already planning on staying over a few nights a week anyway. At this, Rambu chuckled. What, like a joint custody situation? Tommy flushed and shook his head. Not a joint custody situation, you dickhead.
I don't know, Tommy, Tubbo teased, nudging his side with his elbows. If me and Rambu got married, we could get into a custody battle with Phil for trying to adopt... Oh, fuck off, Tommy scoffed, while Tubbo cackled at his own bad joke. If you keep saying shit like that, I'm not going to come over to visit. Okay, fine, I'll stop, Rambu reassured, giving Tubbo a sharp look. Tubbo stopped laughing, but the shit-eating grin stayed on his face as he leaned back into Tommy's side. Seriously, though, we don't care if you want to keep living with Phil, Will, and Techno.
Rambu nodded. Yep, I promise we don't mind. Well, that was certainly a weight off his shoulders. Breathing a sigh of relief, Tommy slumped against Tubbo. Thanks, guys. Like I said, it's not like I'm going anywhere. Trust me, I'm not worried about that. You're way too clingy for that, Tubbo joked.
Clingy, Tommy protested. If anything, you're the clingy one. You are too, Tubbo shot back. You're so clingy, you literally brought Wilbur back from the dead, he pointed out, reaching up to tug at Tommy's white streak. Tommy slapped his hand away from his hair. That's not being clingy. That's being so incredibly cool and poggers that I got from the power to fucking revive someone. That's, like, ultimate clingy right there, Rambu chimed in, smirking at Tommy.
If I die, you definitely bring me back because you'd miss me way too much, Tubbo said, fluttering his lashes in a far too innocent way. Even though it was a joke, the mental image of Wilbur's dead body flashed behind his eyes again. Then he imagined it being Tubbo instead, Tubbo lying too still, his eyes glassy and body limp. Bile rose in his throat. Don't joke about that, Tommy suddenly snapped, making Tubbo and Rambu's laughter fall silent. And don't go dying thinking I could just bring you back either. Pretty sure that was a one-time thing with Will.
Tommy couldn't explain why, But some part of him just knew that what he did with Wilbur was likely something he'd never be able to repeat. He didn't know if you'd explain it like an adrenaline rush or something of the sort, but somehow he just knew that bringing someone back from the dead wasn't something he could do twice. So they had to stay safe. All of them. Both Rambo and Tubbo's expressions turned somber as they shared a look. Sorry, I was just fucking around, Tubbo apologized.
It's okay, Tommy muttered, resting his chin on top of Tubbo's head. I don't like thinking about it. And that's okay. Rambo reassured him, wrapping an arm around Tommy's shoulder so the three of them were in a group hug. You don't have to talk about it. Leaning further against his friends, Tommy sighed. Thanks, guys. Tommy would never be grateful enough for getting his best friends as great as Tubbo and Rambo.
G2/M transition. Cell commitment to build the mitotic machinery. Whoa! Requires that during/by the end of G2 that the cell has fully replicated and repaired DNA. Cyclin?
Yeah.
Cyclin?
Cyclin.
Cyclin A and Cyclin B proteins are synthesized. Tommy stared down at the notes on his page. Don't laugh at me.
No, I'm laughing at the fact that I hate this. I hate science. Oops, I said math.
You're just so glad I got this part.
Yeah.
Shut up. Tommy stared down at the notes on his page, the text blurring the more he tried to comprehend what the hell he'd actually written down. They were going over the stages of mitosis, and his head was already pounding from all the terms he knew was going to. That's when the thing split in two. I know this because I watched TikTok.
I watched Amoeba Sisters. Okay, hold on, I'm getting off track.
No, you're fine. He was going to have to memorize. On the one hand, Tommy really liked having the idea of becoming a doctor, considering, well, he liked healing people. On the other hand, biology was really fucking complicated. Way more intense than he remembered it being in high school. But it was interesting to learn about the way cells worked at very small levels, and then try to apply that to the way his own powers worked. Although this was only the second college-level biology course he was taking, so far he'd theorized that his power probably did something along the lines of accelerating stem cell division over wounds. But he would have to research more before he could come up with a solid theory for it.
For now, though, he was stuck focusing on the details of mitosis. It was late at night, and he was hunched over his desk, struggling to ingrain this shit into his memory. It was almost a relief when he noticed the purple particles floating behind his head. Rambo, what's up? Tommy asked, spinning around his desk chair to face his friend. Standing in the middle of his room, Rambo was decked out in his full Ender outfit, his mask and goggles hiding whatever expression could be on his face right now.
Sorry, I know you're studying, but I was told to come get you, Rambo admitted, sounding sheepish. Tommy huffed, although he was secretly thrilled to have an excuse to ditch his studying. Who is it this time? He asked, hopping out of his chair to run to his dresser. It's Jack, Rambo told him, and Tommy rolled his eyes as he pulled his cargo pants out of his drawer. Of fucking course it is. Did he piss someone off again? Tommy asked, rushing into the bathroom to change.
Yep, he taunted 404 and got a knife to the thigh. Rambo sighed from outside the bathroom door. After changing into his cargo pants, Tommy checked the pockets, grinning when he saw he had remembered to stuff them full of bandages and gauze. Opening the door to the bathroom again, Tommy grabbed his mask off his bed and buckled the straps behind his head before dropping to the ground to pull his boots on. How bad is it? Tommy asked, his voice now tinged with metal from his voice changer as he laced up his boots. Not that bad. He's just complaining for the most part, Rambo told him, leaning against the edge of his bed as he watched Tommy tie his shoes. Will is holding off 404 now, while Nikki, Tubbo, and Techno focus on Dream and Rewind.
Tommy pushed to his feet again, doing one last check to make sure his mask was secure. I'm sure Will is thrilled about having to handle 404, he drawled sarcastically, reaching his hand out towards Rambo. Rambo wrapped his hand around Tommy's. You ready? Rambo asked. Tommy grinned. You know it.
Next thing Tommy knew, his stomach was swooping out from underneath him. Everything went black and Tommy's head spun as he gripped onto Rambo's hand for dear life. And then he was stumbling onto a gravel rooftop. He could hear yelling all around, and after shaking himself off to get the ringing out of his ears, he paused to glance up and look around. It was like Rambo had said. Nikki and Tubbo were tag-teaming Rewind as he disappeared and reappeared, and he jumped between seconds, while Wilbur was struggling to dodge 404's knives like he always was. Then, Tommy noticed Techno and Dream going toe-to-toe, and while there was a small spike of fear that shot through him, seeing Dream's smiley mask face again, he knew at this point that Dream was going to stay true to his word. Many months had passed since the night they had their confrontation with Dream, and it had been harder than he thought to readjust to his normal life after things calmed down.
Sometimes, Tommy would still wake up and wonder if he was actually awake, or if this was all some giant trick on his mind and he was actually still sitting in a jail cell right now. For the first month after everything had blown over, Tommy's palms were constantly glowing to heal the small wounds he'd created by pinching himself. But the windows had always been clear, and his reality had proved itself again and again and again. This was real. He could trust that. Tugging him by the hand, Rambu led him to the edge of the roof, where Jack was sitting pressed up against the railing with a hand on his leg. "Hey up, man!" Tommy greeted as he kneeled down in front of Jack, waving Rambu off as he jumped back into the fight.
"Hey up!" Jack muttered through gritted teeth. Eyeing the knife sticking out of Jack's thigh, he pulled back the fabric of his pants to get a better look at it, and Jack winced at the pressure. "This looks like it hurts like a bitch." "It fucking does," Jack hissed. "Can you hurry up and fucking pull it out?" Rolling his eyes, Tommy nodded. "I will if you promise not to be a little bitch about it."
"I'm gonna..." Before Jack could finish his sentence, Tommy yanked the knife out of his thigh, causing Jack to let out a rather unmanly-sounding shriek. "Fucking hell!" Tossing the knife to the side, Tommy ignored Jack's string of curses as he grabbed some gauze out of one of his pockets and used it to clean off the surface of the wound. While the knife had gotten him good, it hadn't gone very deep. The wound wasn't anything major, meaning it would be a pretty simple fix. Ignoring the sounds of yelling and things crashing from the fight behind him, Tommy placed his hand over the stab wound and shut his eyes. His hands never glowed gold again like they had the night he saved Wilbur. It had gone back to his normal orange, like the whole revival thing had never happened. Although if you asked Tommy, his post-healing headaches had gotten just a bit worse since that night. It wasn't anything he couldn't deal with, but it was still a pain in the ass all the same.
By the time Tommy pulled his hands away, a dull throbbing had already made itself known behind his eyes. He leaned back against the railing next to Jack, taking out some extra gauze from his pocket to wipe his hands on. "You good, Tommy?" Jack asked quietly, resting a hand on his shoulder. Tommy gave him a weak thumbs up, keeping his eyes shut for a moment so he could get his bearings. "All right, you stay here. I'm gonna go hop back in the fight," Jack told him.
"That's good," Tommy muttered, wincing when the simple act of speaking caused another spike of pain to flash through his skull. He listened at Jack's footsteps fading as Thanatos rejoined the fight. Tommy simply took a few deep breaths, letting the pain and nausea roll through him because he knew it would fade to something manageable in a few minutes. Distantly, there was the sound of something exploding, and Tommy grinned, knowing that was almost certainly Tubbo's doing. Suddenly, there was the sound of footsteps beside him. Opening his eyes, Tommy leapt back when he saw Supreme running straight for him. "What the hell?" Tommy asked, pressing against the railing.
Supreme, who Tommy could see was dragging a dazed-looking Rewind next to him, glanced up and gave him a small wave. "Hey there! You don't mind if I, use this spot to heal him, do you?" Blinking, Tommy nodded. Supreme was a healer like him. Logically, Tommy had nothing to fear from the hero. "Is that Apollo?" Rewind asked in a slurred voice. "Yeah, that's him," Supreme confirmed, tugging up the edge of Rewind's charred sweatshirt to reveal a small cluster of burns on his side. "Yep, definitely Tubbo's doing."
"Apollo, ow!" Rewind said, blindly waving at him, but cutting himself off when Supreme pressed 2 fingers on the burn. "Sorry about that," Supreme apologized. "I'll make this quick." Tommy's eyes widened, his curiosity overriding the pain from his headache. He'd never gotten the chance to actually see how another healer's powers worked, and he wondered how similar it was to his own. Without thinking, Tommy leaned over to get a better look. Dark brown eyes met his own, and Tommy flushed, immediately pulling back. "Hey, sorry, I was just..."
"You can watch if you want," Supreme offered. And although Tommy couldn't see his mouth under the red and yellow balaclava, oh my god, he wore, he had the sense he was smiling all the same. If that's okay, Tommy said, and when Supreme nodded, he let out a sigh of relief. Tommy leaned over again, looking down at the hands Supreme had resting on Rewind's sides. One hand, Tommy quickly realized, was a prosthetic. It was just being used to hold up the edge of Rewind's burnt sweatshirt, but otherwise wasn't doing much. Then, Supreme used his other hand to start massaging the skin around the burn.
Whoa, sorry.
You're good.
There was no glowing, but it was like watching magic happen all the same. When Supreme swiped his thumb over the burns, Tommy saw the blistering skin disappear, like an eraser had been used on it. Rewind immediately relaxed. Supreme continued to massage the rest of the burns, each one disappearing with just a brush of his hands. Tommy was glad he had his mask on, because if he wasn't, Supreme would have been able to see his mouth hanging wide open in shock. "That's so cool!" Tommy exclaimed once Supreme had healed the last burn, tugging Rewind's blackened sweatshirt back down. "Are yours different?" Supreme asked, leaning back against the railing next to Tommy. "Also, Rewind, just wait a minute and then you're good to go."
"Yeah, they are. When I heal, my hands get all glowy and hot, and it just heals the wound like that," Tommy exclaimed, looking over his own calloused palms. "That's so interesting," Supreme muttered, furrowing his brows. There was a moment of silence, and then Supreme lifted his head, holding out a hand for Tommy to shake. "I don't think we've officially met. I'm sure you know who I am, but I'm Supreme." Snorting, Tommy took the offered hand. "Apollo, but you knew that already." Before Supreme could respond, there was another explosion sound, and Tommy winced as it sent another pang through his head. Distantly, Tommy registered Rewind getting up and rejoining the fight.
"Are you okay?" Supreme then asked, his dark eyes bright with concern. "I'm fine," Tommy said, waving off his worry. "Just post-healing headache. I'm sure you know how it is." Supreme sighed. "Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't get headaches, but after I have to heal something big, my hands will ache for days. Even the one that's fake," he said, laughing a bit as he held up the prosthetic hand. "Oh man, that's shit," Tommy said, trying to give Supreme a sympathetic look, even with half of his face hidden by his mask.
You get used to it. And damn if Tommy hadn't heard that one before. "But actually, do you mind if I try something?" Frowning, Tommy eyed the hand Supreme was reaching out towards him. "Like what?" "I'm usually really good for headaches," Supreme told him. He held his hand in the air between them, waiting for Tommy to give him the go-ahead. While Tommy knew letting a hero use his powers on Tommy probably wasn't the best idea, there was also something about Supreme that just made him very easy to trust. Maybe it was his kind voice, or maybe it was this quiet solidarity they had with one another. They may have been on opposite sides, but they weren't enemies. They were healers.
Maybe it was just that this headache was really fucking annoying, and Tommy would do anything for some kind of remedy. Either way, Tommy found himself leaning forward. Supreme brought his hand up to Tommy's temple and began to massage small circles into the skin. For a beat, nothing happened. Then, all at once, a surge of warmth radiated from Supreme's thumb and into Tommy's head. He immediately relaxed into the touch, slumping against the railing as sweet relief swept over him. The warmth flooded through his head, slowing the throbbing down until it disappeared completely.
A few seconds passed, and then Supreme pulled his hand away. The warmth faded, and Tommy waited for the headache to return, but it didn't. "Holy shit! You fixed it!" Tommy exclaimed. Supreme laughed. "Glad I could help." "Apollo, we got it!" Wilbur's voice suddenly called out, drawing both healers' attention back to the fight.
Looking out onto the roof, Tommy could see that Nikki and Jack had already disappeared from the fight. Techno was pinning Dream to a wall, while Tubbo just stared down Rewind and 404, neither of whom were moving. And Wilbur, in all his dramatic glory, was holding up the prize of the evening. Some kind of strange technology Sam had built for the heroes a while back that he wanted the Syndicate to use. Tommy had no idea what it did, and he really didn't care to know. But it seemed like that was the signal to get going. "It was nice meeting you," Tommy told Supreme as he jumped to his feet, new energy racing through his veins.
"Nice meeting you too, man," Supreme called back, already rushing back to his own side. "I'll see you around." "See ya," Tommy waved. As soon as he was back by Wilbur, his brother wrapped an arm around his shoulders and pulled him close. Then, Techno shoved Dream to the ground and hurried back over with Tubbo and Rombu. Although Dream was yelling something in protest, as soon as Rumbu reached the group, they all joined hands. Then the roof disappeared, and Tommy knew they were safe for the night.
So what does this thing do anyway? Tommy asked as he sat on Wilbur's bed, tossing the strange device up and down in his hands. Wilbur, who was propped up against his pillows with his guitar on his lap, shrugged. According to Sam, supposed to be able to shut someone's powers off temporarily, but he never managed to perfect the design before he left the Heroes Committee. Tommy immediately stopped tossing the device. Holy shit! If the Heroes had that kind of tech, it would be disastrous, I know, Wilbur said, his voice solemn, which is why we wanted to get it back before they could figure out how to get it working.
Yeah, that was a no-brainer. If the Heroes had a way of shutting villains' powers off, they would be dead. All of them. It would be a nightmare scenario. Are you planning on getting it working again, though? Tommy then asked, his voice much smaller than he expected it to be. Just like it would be disastrous for the Heroes to have that kind of technology, Tommy could see the same thing happening if villains were able to take advantage of that for themselves. I don't know, Wilbur admitted. I don't think Phil wants to use it, but he wants Sam to work on it. Probably a just-in-case type of thing.
Tommy gulped. Do you believe him? Wilbur shrugged, keeping his eyes on his lap. I'm not sure. On the one hand, Tommy knew he should probably be more worried about the fact that neither of them seemed to be sure what their father's plan was for this technology. But at the same time, Tommy couldn't bring himself to be all that upset about it. He trusted Phil to know when a dirty trick was too dirty. Setting the device on Wilbur's nightstand, Tommy huffed as he flopped back onto the bed, resting his head next to Wilbur's side. You know, I talked to Supreme tonight.
Oh. Wilbur, who had gone back to tuning his guitar, raised an eyebrow. You did? Tommy nodded. Yeah, he's a really nice person. Plus, he was actually able to fix my headache after I healed Jack. Seriously? Wilbur questioned. Yup, his powers work differently than mine, which I got to see when he healed Rewind, Tommy told him, grinning at the memory. It's so fucking cool. I'd love to figure out how our powers actually work on, like, a scientific level.
Will snorted and reached a hand out to ruffle Tommy's hair. You're such a fucking nerd. Oi! I'm not a nerd, Tommy protested. You're literally studying biology in college. You're the most stereotypical nerd there is, Wilbur teased. Fuck off, dipshit. Anything you're the nerd, you goddamn theater kid, Tommy huffed, slapping Wilbur's hand away.
Wilbur frowned. How did you know I did theater in high school? Snorting, Tommy rolled over so his head was pressed against Wilbur's side. Lucky guess. Rolling his eyes, Wilbur resumed his guitar tuning. A comfortable silence fell between them, Tommy listening to the different strings being plucked as Wilbur tried to test it if they sounded right. It was relaxing. A familiar routine they'd developed all the way back when Tommy was first staying at the house. It felt like years ago now, even though it hadn't even been a year since he saved Siren's life.
So much had changed since then. Everything in Tommy's life was different, all because he took one look at a supervillain bleeding out in an alleyway and decided that no one deserves to die like that. Do you ever think of dying yet? Wilbur asked out of the blue, snapping Tommy out of his thoughts. Blinking open his eyes, Tommy frowned when he saw Wilbur twirling his finger around the white streak in his own hair. No, Tommy immediately answered. I don't want to get rid of it.
Why not? Wilbur asked, letting go of his own white streak and reaching down to grab Tommy's. Isn't it a bad memory for you? Tommy shrugged. I don't think of it like that. Then how do you think of it? Wilbur asked, being as gentle as possible as he tugged Tommy's hair. I think of it as a reminder, Tommy told him, letting his eyes slip shut again. It reminds me that you're alive, but it also reminds me just of my family in general. How close I came to losing you guys, but didn't.
There was a moment of silence. Tommy heard Wilbur sniffle. I think you just like that we match, Wilbur teased, although his voice was thick. You want to look like your big brother Wilby. Hey, fuck off! Tommy snorted, pressing himself into Wilbur's side. I don't want to look like you at all because you're ugly as shit. It was a lie, and both Wilbur and Tommy knew it. Maybe Tommy did like that he and Wilbur had matching white streaks. Maybe it made him feel like they were connected, or that it made them look more like brothers in some strange way.
But, of course, Tommy wasn't going to admit that out loud. Wilbur already had a big enough ego. He didn't need it to get any bigger. Well, I don't want to dye mine because it reminds me not to be fucking stupid, Wilbur told him after a few moments. I don't ever want to leave you guys again, and seeing the white reminds me exactly why. Good, Tommy said, burying his face into Wilbur's sweater to shield his eyes from the lights. You never... Sorry.
Wait, is it my turn?
No. I messed up and then I had a cough. Sorry.
Oh, take your time. You're good.
Let's see. Good, Tommy said, burying his face into Wilbur's sweater to shield his eyes from the lights. You'll never leave me again, you stupid fuck. Don't worry, Toms. I've learned my lesson about being a martyr, Wilbur reassured him.
Another silence fell over the two. Wilbur went back to tuning his guitar. Everything was warm and soft right now. The warm glow of the fairy lights, the soft strumming of Wilbur's guitar strings. As the minutes passed, Tommy felt sleep begin to creep up on him like an old friend. What do you want me to sing? Wilbur then asked after a few minutes. Anything, Tommy mumbled. Wilbur let out a soft chuckle at Tommy's slurred voice. We'll make it a quick one.
He started to strum the chords, and Tommy smiled as he recognized a song Wilbur had played for him before. Then, Wilbur began to sing. The road to my home is horizons, my target if I keep on moving. Never lose sight of it. Right before he fell asleep, or right before sleep dragged Tommy under, he smiled into his brother's sweater, and then he was out like a light.
Of TommyInnits Clinic for Supervillains. It's over. Good night, everybody.
Good night, bye.
And stream.
Oh my god. I don't know. I was waiting a bit because I was playing the song for the end.
Oh, that's
yeah,
why?
a little bit. I did play the song on purpose.
Oh wait, you are playing the song.
I am. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you absolute mad lad.
I know. I had to because that's also my favorite song, so I had to. And I was like, I remember I had that song pulled up since like we started the chapter because I remember. Because, okay, that is my favorite song. My most played song. Literally my favorite. So it was like, it has a lot of meaning, the fact that it's the last song for the last chapter.
Yeah, that was my top played song of 2020, fun fact.
Mine was like 2020, 2021. Like, probably gonna be 2022.
Bro!
Yeah, but it
happened.
Done! No! Man, I'm crying.
It's over.
Yeah.
But Tommy Tuesday isn't over.
Tommy Tuesday is gonna be a thing. We're making it a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. Tommy Tuesday is a thing, and it's going to... I feel like what we're gonna kind of... Johnny! I feel like what we're gonna do is kind of like ping pong around. So like, so the next one is gonna be on Julie's stream, and then now today is here. But Julie, thank you for the 3 bits, and Nelly, thank you for the 100 bits. That made me cry a little bit. But Julie, I have one last surprise for you.
What?
Yeah.
For me?
I have a surprise for you. It's
a surprise for me?
Oh, thank you for the 100 bits, Nelly.
Nelly.
And thank you guys. Yes, I do have a surprise for you. It's something small, but I thought you would like it. So, real sketch. Okay, so I'm gonna put the music on it. I'm gonna put it lower. But I made this for you, so you're gonna go ahead and check on your Discord because I sent it to you to your Discord, and tell me what you think. Tell me if it sends.
It's sent. Oh my god! Polaris? What is that?
It's a type of blueberry bush. And I thought it was a cool name, so I took it, and then I didn't want to put it on stream just because I was like, if that's what you want to keep it, you can keep it to yourself. So
You're making me cry.
No, Julie. So, guys, if you guys, so I actually told chat like days ago. I was like, guys, because I checked that you weren't on stream, and I was like, hey, chat, my idea is I'm going to draw a fan art of Julie as a vigilante to commemorate this, because it's the first fanfiction reading we've done. Tommy Tuesday is very special to me, so I wanted to do that for you, and I hope you like it.
Yay!
I'm
literally like putting it in my fan art folder right now.
Oh my gosh. But yeah. So, and then like if you look, there's like here, chat gets to hear about it. You don't get to see it. Or are you gonna have it to where like it's on stream? Because I know you have that on your streams.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm putting that in the fan art wheel. Bro.
Okay, then let me here. I'll show it to. I guess I'll show it to chat. I guess. Let's see. But I hope you like it. It's something that I literally do you remember that all-nighter I put the other day? This is what I was working on. I think I might have been in call with you too as I started working on it. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh my gosh.
But
that's so funny.
Hold on. Let me oh wait, let's see. Hold on. Hold on. It's not letting me say it. Hold on, chat. I will show it to you. But basically, Julie, that is my thank you for doing this with me. And for making it a thing, because I think you're the one that gifted the subs to to read fanfiction with Julie.
I mean, I wanted to do it.
Yeah, I did too. We did. So here, look, let's see. I'm showing. Hold on. Let's see. Image. Let's see. Downloads. Okay. So this is the image. Oh no, that's M&M's. No, wrong one. M&M's. Share with the class. I'm going to. This is one piece of
M&M's.
3 probably, because I'm going to be making it of everybody. Because I was going to make it of all 3 because I am a nerd. Let's see. Where is it? Hold on. I am a nerd. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. Why can't I find it? No. There we go. That's it. What? No, wrong. Okay, I don't know why it's. I just opened. How am I opening this stuff? I just opened up like the lore from something like a file. Wait, it's not letting me open it.
Can you click? Can you click the thing and like say open original? It'll open in your Chrome tab.
Hold on, chat. I'm trying to figure this out. Hold on. Why is it? Hold on. It's because I'm downloading it from. Let's see.
Are you trying to like?
Oh wait, let me try and open it. Let me open original and then save from there. Hold on, guys. I still haven't figured out streaming yet. Hold up. Okay, I think I got it. Hold on. Let's see. I think I got it. Hold on. I can't believe this. I can't even feel emotional anymore because I'm so stupid. You know what? Maybe that's what I meant to do. Okay, there we go. Here we go. It worked. Okay, so look, this is. First of all, I had to use a reference of like an actual person. I had never done that before, so I did. So this is the art I made of Julie. So basically, we have the name is Polaris. Like I said, it's a type of it's a type of blueberry bush. I think that's able to survive in both hot and cold climates. I think it's a very trust me. I was doing research on blueberry bushes for a long time. Trust me. But yeah.
Oh my god. So
and
cool.
then you have a bark and blueberry growth mask, and it's over your arms too. And then I made little stories. So if you hear, we'll zoom in here. This is so bad. But look, we have like arrows made by Julie with Johnny's help. So that's why they have a little like pink tip, because that's like Johnny's signature, or like a purple. I don't know. I can't remember. And then you have your voice changer, which is right here, but it kind of goes with your shirt. And then you have a bow, because obviously, and then you have like a little dagger from me, because I feel like that would be fitting. And then you have bow charms from Johnny and me. Yeah. So I put like little things in there. And then I put your yellow and your like stuff like that. So yeah.
I love it.
I'm glad. So of course. That was my super secret art project. Yeah.
Oh my god, that looks so badass. You made me look so badass, and for what?
Because. But yeah.
Because.
Let's see. But yeah. Let's see. I think I'm gonna end here because I'm a little tired. I put my whole kid to. I'm not gonna say that actually. Hold on.
Whoa.
Hold on.
Whoa.
You do.
But Johnny's going whoa right now too.
But yes, but that I'll say that's because I kind of want to do. No, I'm not gonna say. No, I didn't say anything. Okay. But I think I'm gonna head out. Let's see. Who will I send you guys to? Let's see. Julie, I'm gonna be right back. I will be right back to see fire. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, we'll say that that's a part 1 of 3. Maybe I'll do another 2. Let's see.
Oh.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, possibly. Who knows? Maybe I'm just becoming a fan artist, just for my friends though.
Hey.
I mean, Johnny G. What kind of vigilante? Okay. But I will be right back, Julie. I will be right back. I'm gonna just end, and I will be back.
Okie dokie.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
I love you. Thank you. Mwah.
I love you too. Mwah.
Okay. Chat. Guys, thank you guys so much. And again, Nelly, thank you for the 200 bits, and Julie for the 3 bits. Thank you. It really means a lot to me. Yeah. I'm gonna keep a lot of the, I know that, who shall we rate tonight? I know, who shall we rate tonight? So if you guys want to do any last minute bits, subs, also follows, Cake Please, Misty Unicorn, and Real Sketchers Art. Thank you so much for the follows. Thank you. Means a lot to me. Thank you. So I'm gonna probably keep up this stream was good. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys liked it, and I think also it was really nice because it was me and Julie's way of commemorating Technoblade. Obviously, Technoblade is a huge part of the story, and he's probably going to be a huge part of all the Tommy Tuesdays that we do. So this is our way of remembering him. Nelly! I said I was going to say Game Hunters and then said Nelly. But thank you, Nelly. Thank you. When fanfic are you guys reading next? I guess you'll have to wait until Julie streams it to find out. I don't know when we're going to start, but we're going to keep it going to Tommy Tuesdays. I really like Technoblade too. I did too. So, we lost a legend, but we're still, I think, the only way somebody ever really goes is if you forget about them. And, I mean, me and Julie can't forget the Blade. I mean, he's part of the story. You can't forget about him. But yeah, easy person I know who we're gonna raid. We're gonna go give some love to Leah. Thank you guys so much for watching. The legacy goes on, yeah. And me and Julie are gonna do our best to make sure that you guys get to see how badass of a character Technoblade is. But yeah, Minecraft, that's so cool. But yeah, I think I'm going to keep the fundraising on for a while. Part of my proceeds that I do get in my subathon, which is going to be Sunday, I will be putting into the Sarcoma Foundation in the name of Techno. I will be donating, I'll be matching whatever we raise so far, at least. If it's not too big, I'll match as much as I can. But yeah, that's the deal. So yeah, but thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you copy the... Technoblade never dies. Nope. Nuh-uh. But yeah, it was really sweet. So thank you guys, and thank you for allowing me to do this with one of my good friends. I really love Julie for doing this with me. So it's really fun getting to do something I really enjoy with somebody I really enjoy, and having a lot of my friends and my followers support me. Like, Johnny, I didn't even know you were here, so that's really sweet that you're here, and that's gonna make me cry. But thank you guys so much for watching. Have a lovely day or night wherever you are. I hope you guys liked my Since I Saw Vienna. I thought that was fun. And guess what? You guys are the only ones that get to hear that. Because I forgot to put on the Spotify sounds for the VODs. So sorry, VODs channel. But we're going to go ahead and raid Leah. Go give Leah all of your love. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to stream again tomorrow because I want to stream as much as I can in order to get the quote-unquote coverage for the donations and stuff, so everybody knows to, hey, I mean, I'm sure a bunch of people are doing it, so literally whoever you give your money to, amazing. But yeah, but thank you guys so much for watching. Have a lovely day or night wherever you are. I'm gonna put you guys with an upbeat song. I don't want to make you guys cry. Hold on. Let's see. Let's see, Kid Jam. I'll put you guys to let's see, let's do, you know what, yeah. It made it better. I'm glad. But Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a lovely day or night wherever you are. And I'll see you in the next stream, which will be tomorrow. Probably doing some Quest SMP because I got a lot of stuff done. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to show you guys. But yeah,